So we have this tweet from Rick Scott. He said, I'm warning socialists and communists not to travel to Florida. They are not welcome in the Sunshine State. I'm going to play the clip for you.
Senator Rick Scott here. Let me give you a travel warning. If you're a socialist, communist, somebody that believes in big government, I would think twice. Think twice if you're thinking about taking a vacation or moving to Florida. We're the free state of Florida. We actually don't believe in socialism. We actually know people, and some people in our state lived under it, and we know people lived under socialism. It's not good. It's not good for anybody. So if you're thinking about it, if you think about coming to Florida and you're a socialist or communist, think twice. We like freedom, liberty, capitalism, things like that.
Say it.
Civil War.
I am kidding, by the way.
Yeah.
But a lot of people were tweeting about it and tweeting at me.
Yeah, they're freaking out. What? I can't go to the place that I'm constantly claiming is the worst part of America? No, you can't. You should be happy.
There is something about people.
You still can. He's just telling you won't like it.
No, you can't. I'm fine with them thinking they can't.
There's definitely an aspect of taking things for granted in the modern age that I don't think a lot of people understand. That if they trash this country, what kind of lockdown could actually, like, what could be lost?
By the way,
the ability to walk around freely and stuff like that.
Do you think that, like, if Gavin Newsom or some governor of a left-wing state went, no fascists are welcome here, that people would be going, well, he's excluding people based on their politics.
What about tolerance?
What's happening? What happened to tolerance, man?
I gotta be honest. If Gavin Newsom made a video and he said fascists aren't welcome in California, I'd be like, okay.
I'd be like, but how did you get elected?
No, sure, right. But like, my view is like, that doesn't apply to any of us.
Right.
Yeah. It's just a term that means bad guy.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, whatever. But when he said socialists and communists aren't welcome, leftists legitimately got mad. They were like, how dare you?
You're like, well, why not?
Yeah, why can't I? What is this?
We make everywhere we go better.
I think it was a tweet from Michael Malice, and he said something about like the fracturing of the states is going as planned or something like that. I should actually pull that one up, try and find it. But yeah, I mean, I don't take it seriously, to be completely honest. But I do think that when you look at the election in Florida, when you look at, here's what Michael Malice said: our nation's growing ideological self-segregation is proceeding nicely. Actually, it's a really good point. It is. People leaving California who are more conservative leaning, going to Texas and Florida, people leaving New York for the same reason. Where does this self-segregation lead to?
I just love that he says he's warning them.
Potentially
not welcome.
I'm warning
you. You're not welcome.
A decentralized federation of state authority. I mean, I think that's kind of what we're supposed to lead. That's where we were. That's where we came from.
And then what happens when you have... It's one thing when California's a sanctuary state and they let illegal immigrants, criminal immigrants enter their state. But then these people who enter can now easily access any other part of the country. So what happens when you're Arizona dealing with a border crisis? And then California keeps their border open, lets people come in illegally, and then very easily they cross in Arizona. Okay, if this hyperpolarization keeps happening, Arizona sets up a border. They set up a checkpoint. And they say, we have way too many people coming in from California that we don't know if are citizens, so we're going to do a border checkpoint. And now you got to show your ID if you want to get through.
It's reasonable. It's a big inconvenience for 99.9% of the people going from California to Arizona, but it's maybe for a weekend they could try it. I don't know. That's a big cost.
And not that much.
Just administrative cost. I'm thinking
putting
cops,
a booth. I don't think it's that expensive to put a couple booths on a few highways that go in and out of the state.
Then they would check the trunk of every car that came by and stuff?
They just stop and say, howdy, what's your business in Arizona? Where are you headed? And then I'm just driving through. Okay, have a nice day.
Can I see your ID kind of thing?
Yep.
Got an ID? So if you don't have an ID, you won't be able to go across state border?
I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm saying that's where we head. That's where we go. If we're getting to the point where, look, we've already talked about how in some of these blue states, there's child sex change sanctuaries. There's already the fear. This is what I'm worried about. Some kid on TikTok sees all these videos, finds a book like this, calls the number, meets a stranger on the internet who says, I'll drive you to Washington and get you your treatment, effectively kidnapping the kid, bring him to Washington, and Washington says it's legal. Now, what happens if you're in Montana or Wyoming? Wyoming is the #1 Trump supporting state in the country. What happens if you're from Wyoming and someone takes your kid and brings him to Washington? Now you've got a very, very serious border dispute because Washington said, oh, that guy who kidnapped your kid, he was doing your kid a favor. And then you say, I want my kid returned to me. And they say, no, because you're the criminal. Federal government doesn't intervene. What happens? You are going to get Wyoming being like, we're going to set up checkpoints to make sure people aren't kidnapping children to bring them to Washington for lewd and lascivious reasons.
Yeah, you've got to have the feds. The feds are supposed to
They're not going to do it.
That's the only way to prevent these states from going rogue is to have federal enforcement and oversight. You need to protect.
Then you're talking about stronger federal law enforcement, and we don't have that. If anything, the feds will protect Washington and the kidnapper.
That's so messed up.
Yeah, even under Trump, Trump made the mistake of thinking that these people would operate any differently.
What do you mean? Who are these people?
The FBI. Trump literally thought, I can't. That dude made so many mistakes in trusting these people over and over and over again.
Yeah, it was like he was on autopilot. That was weird.
I think he just actually had faith in the system. I think Trump thought it was busted, but he could fix it. And he saw the general good in the United States. I think now it's the opposite. Now he's like, these people are corrupt. The whole thing's got to go. But this is my point. When we're looking at Rick Scott jokingly say socialists and communists don't come here, and then the left actually gets mad because they actually are socialists and commies, like we're heading to a dark place.
How would you guys define socialist? What would make somebody a socialist?
Public ownership of the means of production.
Yeah. So yeah, communism is like worker ownership over the means of production, and then how socialism is different from communism changes based on who you're talking to. Some say that like I think as a general rule, when you look at how they've operated in the world, communism usually happens because of like some revolution or state takeover, and socialism is usually voted in, but that's not actually definitive.
Well, some say socialism is economic and communism is political.
Yeah, well, people say communism encompasses everything, right? So even your culture becomes modified by it, where socialism just refers to econ. But there are a bunch of different ways people define it, and I've heard it defined even by official sources multiple different ways.
So like every communist state is socialist, but every socialist state is not necessarily communist?
Yeah, I suppose so.
What would that be? Like state ownership is communist, but if it's just state...
Communism is typically characterized by a single party controlling everything in like an autocratic mean. Mm-hmm. Gulagging people, disappearing people.
Socialism is where the people own everything.
Socialism can actually... Socialism is interesting because there's like a threshold for it, right? If you're looking at a spectrum... You could argue America's a capitalist country, right? Yeah, except half of our money is taxed and goes to the public. So actually, the United States is not a capitalist economy; it's a mixed economy. At a certain point, you can call it socialist or capitalist. What's that line? Up to you. Maybe 70%. If 70% of your income is kept by you and 30% goes to the public, that's the threshold for being a capitalist country. Anything from 70 up to 100 of the money you keep is capitalist, and then anything in between is mixed, and then 70% taxation and higher is socialist. I don't know. To be fair, it's not just about government taxation.
Yeah.
Socialism is basically like the workers own the factory. Communism is like everyone owns everything, but there's actually a military in control and they'll execute you if you disagree. But it can be a bit vague. The simple thing is socialism is basic economics. The further you go towards the public owning everything is the further you go towards socialism. The further you go towards private ownership, the further you go towards capitalism. Mm-hmm. And capitalism is better.
Yeah, of course.
Unquestionably.
Yeah, I think also like just in terms of how the word is usually understood, communism has much more baggage associated with it on the cultural question, which I think is part of why people associate it with a complete cultural takeover, and because that's also what you saw in communist states like the USSR or communist China. And so people will almost view socialism as just sort of a moderate form of communism, but that's not really an accurate way of looking at it either.
We have a lot of people pointing out there already are border checkpoints. Some saying when you generally stop at state borders to pay tolls already. Mm. So those could easily be modified to stop and check your ID. Other people mention that there are way stations and agricultural checkpoints already between states. I'm saying it becomes like country to country effectively. Arizona's dealing with a mass influx of illegal immigrants. Texas is as well. At a certain point, they might just be like, we have to control our borders.
But that would be like if someone, because there'll be vans and trucks, you need to stop the van, come around out back, open the van, look through their stuff.
Yeah, dog walks around the truck. Yep, absolutely.
That's a lot of labor.
It sure is, and I'm saying
I don't know if it's a bad thing though.
Whether you think it's good or bad is not the point. What matters is if we are segregating to this degree, it will happen. When COVID happened, they had checkpoints. I think Connecticut had checkpoints because they didn't want New Yorkers fleeing because of the lockdowns into Connecticut for safe haven. So they were like checking license plates and stuff like that. Yo, crazy.
And who would have ever thought that would have happened before COVID, right?
Yeah.
To your point.
Now it's like, Europe used to have checkpoints between the countries, and then you get the European Union, the Schengen zone. But I think the U.S. actually headed in that direction, because you're gonna have, I think Wyoming and Washington are a really good example. I think you got Idaho in between, but so maybe it'll be Idaho. Actually, Idaho's a pretty conservative spot, and they're gonna get issues. Wyoming's gonna be like, why are you allowing these people to take our kids through your state? And they're gonna say, okay. And Wyoming's gonna be like, we expect you to cooperate with us on law enforcement. So Idaho's gonna be like, we got this corridor that goes to Montana to Washington, whatever. We're gonna set up checkpoints. I think, what is it? One highway? There's probably some smaller roads, but I think it's one highway.
Up north, yeah, it's one highway.
I'm actually fearful of how the federal government might try to crack down on that.
How so?
I could just see if you have a regime that's as far to the left as the one that's in power now is, and that wants to push for this mutilation of children. I could imagine them saying, no, you can't tell someone they're not able to pass through your state in order to get their quote unquote gender affirming care. To
be fair, there's one federal highway, one big, it's I-90.
Right, one interstate.
But then there are a bunch of smaller roads.
Smaller state highways, yes.
But to be completely honest, I can count them.
Yeah, it's not a lot.
I can go all the way. What are we looking at?
Up north, you mean?
So if I'm looking at just out of Washington, you can man, it's really annoying.
Yeah, it's rugged up there.
There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
And in wintertime, a lot of those
10.
will be
10 roads.
Yeah.
So if you got to the point where Washington, there actually was an issue of kids being trafficked into Washington for child sex changes, and states like Idaho were like, no way. I mean, actually, let's use Idaho as an example. Relatively conservative place. They don't want their kids being brought there. So what? All they need is 10 checkpoints? 10. Yeah. Yo, that's 20 guys. Yeah. 20 guys on rotation working a border.
Yeah, and like I said, in the wintertime, a lot of those places are not even, you can't navigate them. They're like covered in snow.
So
there's no way through them.
It's mostly just going to be 1 or 2 roads.
They might exit to another state. You'd have to have your entire border blocked off or covered.
I don't know if you can do that. It's so rugged, dude.
No, Ian. It's 10 roads.
Going
the
west?
whole border.
Bro. You're just talking about the western border?
Going east. Yes. If you're in Washington, it is 10 roads out of Washington. You have to go south.
Oh, they said Idaho. Okay.
Into Idaho.
Yeah.
So Washington into Idaho. There are 10 roads.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.